Hey everybody, this is Todd and it's November 7th, 2015. I am presently living in Samcheonpo, South Korea. It's a Saturday night. And I just wanted to quickly talk to you about a book I read called Stand Out by Dorie Clark. This book is basically about generating business ideas, but unlike many other books about generating ideas, I found this book to be somehow different because it doesn't really provide those kind of generic, conventional idea-generating activities or exercises that you normally see in books, like, generating a list or creating a mind map. These are kind of the conventional strategies that people often provide in their idea-generating books to help you, but Dorie takes a different approach. She actually talks about how you can work with your personal life to expose yourself to new opportunities and new people that will make your life more interesting and in the process help you generate more ideas for business ventures and interesting pet projects that you may have. So what I really liked about this book was that it really gives you some really interesting insight as to how you're using your life, how you're living your life, and how you can improve your life to bring new people into it, new opportunities, and in that process to develop and evolve certain ideas that you have. And it's in that kind of process of always looking for new opportunities, exposing yourself, keeping your life open, that you'll eventually create ideas for yourself because you'll have these kind of new adventures wherever you are or wherever you're going, and those adventures will spark new strategies, new insight, new ideas. And this is a really important message, I think, because not everybody realizes how restricted their lives can be. So Dorie Clark really kind of gives you a kind of a wake-up call. And I think another thing I like about this book is that, it talks about how you can use your own interests to use that as a sort of platform for developing new ideas. So, for example, if you're in a volunteer organization like the American Cancer Society, then you can leverage your contacts in that organization and in your voluntary pursuits, I guess you would say. You could use that network to create new projects and to make new things happen in your life that wouldn't have happened without that network. And you could follow up with people and tell them about some of the interests that you have and tell them what you're, interested in doing. So another really important point in this book is that, you should be using your network and the organizations that you're a part of to generate new pursuits for yourself. If you're around people of like minds and of like interests, then use that to your advantage. Dorie Clark brings up a person from Stanford University, a person who went to the business program, how this person basically used her alumni network to create a meetup group based on that alone. Now, while many of us probably aren't as close to our colleges as this person was in Dorie's book, we can still use other affiliations that could potentially lead to other ventures, other pursuits, other projects, other businesses. So that's kind of like a really, really key point in the book, is to just use your networks to your advantage and if you don't have them, to create them. Find out what matters to you and create organizations around those ideas. And another really interesting point that kind of is piggybacking off of this point that I just made is just the idea of finding finding interesting areas of life that aren't normally pursued, or finding areas that people sort of shy away from, and that they're not kind of interested in kind of looking at. If you can find like those areas that not many people are exploring or are kind of having a dialogue about, then you could potentially create a kind of niche for yourself. Now, I really didn't want to use the word niche because that word is kind of hackneyed at this point and kind of has some negative connotations with, niche marketing and niche this, niche that. Niche is such a kind of a overused word these days, but I guess that is essentially what Dorie Clark is saying, is that if you can find an interest of yours that isn't pursued, a kind of a niche, then you can begin to develop a following for yourself, because you're that person who is interested in exploring this area of life that not everybody else is exploring. And you can leverage the people who are in your other networks that have similar interests, but maybe not necessarily the exact interest. You can use that kind of network to your advantage and to build and grow your community. So this is kind of another interesting point that Dorie Clark brings up, and is really kind of a valuable kind of insight that not everybody really thinks about. So these 2 points were really important for me, and I think another point that Dorie brings up in the book that I thought was really valuable is the idea that our personal life and our professional life are basically no longer as segregated as they once were. Now, this is a really interesting point, because many of us in the Generation Y and Generation X cohort grew up thinking that, we would work a 9-to-5 job, go home, and that would be it. And we would probably work for 50 years, and that would be our lives. But these days, our professional life and our personal life are more integrated and serve each other more so than they did even 7 years ago, let's say. I'm just kind of pulling 7 out of a hat, but just as an example, it was only kind of a recent development that people started using kind of the skills that are required today to build up businesses outside of a normal 9-to-5 job. And I think that's largely due to the kind of the surge of technology and digital marketing and the rise of digital transactions, which have changed the economy quite considerably. So I think that what Dorie Clark is saying is that, our personal lives and our professional can be used to complement each other, and that there are experiences that we have that we shouldn't discount as just personal experiences, that we should take them as entirely relevant for the job responsibilities of the workforce today. So, for example, if you are a mother raising her children, that is a legitimate experience that you can talk about or that you can leverage as an employee or even an employer. It's a skill. Managing a child, raising a child, comforting, supporting a child, that is a skill that is actually very valuable in the world of business. Another experience that you might have had is traveling Europe, traveling the world, which, according to Dorie Clark, is also a really valuable skill to have, because you're being exposed to new cultures, you have to adjust, you have to be flexible, you have to be respectful. So essentially, if you are backpacking around Europe, you're basically training yourself to be something like an ambassador. So Dorie Clark says, don't discount your personal experiences as just being, something that you did for fun. I mean, these are entirely valuable skills that you're developing that not everybody has. Not everybody gets to raise a child, and not everybody gets to travel Europe, or not everybody gets to sit alone in a library and read a book. So these are all experiences that you shouldn't discount, because they could be really valuable when you're creating your own business, or when you're helping other people with their businesses, or you're just giving value. So this is a really kind of crucial point that Dorie repeats quite a bit in this book. It's the idea of just integrating your personal life and your professional life, and using that as a kind of way to develop yourself and to really kind of open up your mind and open up your heart, I guess, to the ways that your life is wholly integrated, and the ways that you can provide value to people, whether in business or even in your own personal life. So I really like this idea a lot, because it's one of those ideas that you don't often think about, because, at least for me, because, I was kind of raised to think that your work life and your personal life were separate. So it's taking me a lot to change my thinking on this, but slowly and surely, through more reading, I am definitely getting there. So that is a really valuable point. And I think another really valuable point that Standout mentions is that it's not easy to pursue something and create a business and to make your life improve, I guess, exponentially, the way you might see in kind of mainstream media. You hear these overnight success stories of people creating this wonderful app that sold, millions, and kind of, was, I guess, went public or what have you. But Dorie Clark says that basically it takes a lot of work. And she brings up Gary Vaynerchuk, who is like this famous business guy, famous entrepreneur, has, many accomplishments. And she basically says toward the end of the book that you essentially have the option of either playing to your strengths, playing on the strengths that you already have in life. So if you're not good at programming, you become a better programmer, or improving. Actually, I'm sorry, I reversed that. If it's playing to your strengths. So if you're a good public speaker, then you do more public speaking. If you don't choose that route, the other route is that you improve on your weaknesses. And that's the example that I was trying to, use for the purposes of this discussion. If you want to improve on your strengths, then that's another, or improve on your weaknesses, then that's another avenue that you can pursue. And the example, of course, is becoming a better programmer, learning to code, becoming a website designer. And either option that you choose, you're still going to have to work hard. There's no substitute for working hard. And Ms. Clark basically says that there is one surefire way for you to get to where you want to go in your personal and professional life. And that's just with sheer brute force hard work. And I think she even says the words brute force. So if you can outwork other people and continue to work, that there is beyond doubt that you will eventually get to where you want to go. Even if you're trying to improve your weaknesses and it seems like that's taking forever, you will eventually get to where you want to go. So that's kind of the final message that Dorie Clark leaves you with. So I guess I really like this book a lot. I do recommend it because it's a idea generation book, but it doesn't use the conventional strategies for generating ideas. It actually gives you different thoughts and ideas for you to use to improve your life, to improve your network, and to open up your opportunities that might lead to new ideas. I think one of my favorite strategies of the book is Dorie Clark says to reserve 1 hour a day to how do I explain this? To basically expose yourself to something new and to open up the possibility of meeting new people. 1 hour a day. And, this was kind of amazing to me because, I didn't realize how closed off I had made my own life. I didn't realize how regimented and restricted I had made my own life, which actually prevented me from meeting new people and creating new opportunities. And Dorie Clark says if you could just reserve 1 hour a day to expose yourself to new opportunities and new people, wherever that might be. It could be just in the park. It could be in a cafe or a museum. Just reserve 1 hour a day. You'll begin to see some changes right there. And it will exercise that kind of, I don't know what you would call it, but like that kind of muscle that allows you to be receptive to new experiences, I guess. So Dorie Clark does mention that strategy. And there are many really great ones to either be reminded of or to read for the first time that will really, I think, open up your life, expose you to new people, and develop networks that I think will eventually help you think of new ideas. Because like it or not, you can't always work in a vacuum. You can't always work alone. You need other people to confirm your own experiences, to validate your fears, and to give you some new insight into how you can explore a certain area of interest, or to give you, possible solutions to some sort of area where you're stuck or need help. So I guess what Dorie Clark's take-home message is that you really can't really function entirely on your own. You should immerse yourself with other people and new experiences to then generate ideas. Or at least doing that will eventually help you generate ideas. So anyway, I really like this book a lot. I highly recommend it. Again, the book is called Stand Out by Dorie Clark. And there's like a little blurb on the front cover that says how to find your breakthrough idea and build a following around it. I really like this book a lot, and I do highly recommend it. And if you have any questions about it, feel free to leave a comment in the chat box below or email me, and I will be more than happy to give you, more explanation about what I just said here in this video. Otherwise, I hope you read it. I think it will change your life, and thank you so much for listening to me speak. I really appreciate it. Take care.